Ladies and gentlemen, there is a truth so profound, so divine, that if you will seize it tonight, it will alter the entire course of your life. The secret is this: you become what you think, not what you wish for, not what you occasionally dream about, but what you continually, persistently, and unshakably think about. Your mind is the workshop of creation, and every thought you permit to dwell within it is either a seed of glory or a seed of ruin. Consider for a moment the power you hold in your own thought. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of it. Every fortune ever built, every empire ever raised, every saint who ever walked with conviction, each began with nothing more than a thought, charged with belief, nourished with faith, and carried through with unwavering persistence. But listen closely. Mastery of thought requires mastery of self. The weak mind clings to every passing emotion. It trembles when insulted. It flares when challenged. It grows restless when denied its desires. Such a mind cannot create anything lasting, for it is chained by its own passions. The man or woman who detaches from the pull of fear, anger, or doubt, who observes emotion but is not enslaved by it, possesses a strength that even kings envy. True power is not in conquering others, but in conquering oneself. To transform your life, you must first transform your inner world. Replace doubt with faith. Replace complaint with gratitude. Replace fear with vision. The moment you deliberately substitute one thought for another, you are rewriting the script of your destiny. For no mind can dwell on both light and darkness at the same time. One must always drive out the other. Your imagination is not a trivial faculty. It is the workshop of the divine. When you hold an image before your mind's eye, when you nourish it with belief and protect it from the weeds of doubt, the universe itself conspires to make it real. Every great achievement of mankind was once invisible, residing only in the secret chambers of thought. The invisible is always the parent of the visible. Persist, my friends. Do not think once and abandon your post. Repeat the vision daily. See it, feel it, believe it, until it burns with such intensity that nothing in heaven or earth can keep it from you. For the thought that is emotionalized and persisted in becomes a living force, and that force will express itself in your character, your habits, your results, and your destiny. Hear me well, you are not merely a thinker, you are becoming the sum total of your thoughts. If your mind is filled with smallness, you will live small. If it is filled with greatness, greatness will be drawn to you. Choose this day the thoughts upon which you will build your future, for as surely as night follows day, you will become what you think. And when doubt comes, and it will stand calm, detached, unshaken, like a mountain before the storm. Let the winds howl, let the world rage, but keep your mind fixed on the image of what you desire, and your spirit free from the chains of fleeting emotion. That, my friends, is true mastery. That is the secret of transformation. So I leave you with this charge: guard your mind as you would guard your greatest treasure, for it is directed as you would direct the mightiest army. For it is, and never forget, as you think, so you become. The mind is the sculptor of destiny, silently shaping every detail of your life with the material you supply through thought. You may not realize it, but every thought you entertain is a chisel stroke, carving away at the marble of your being. Thoughts are not idle, they are forces. They imprint themselves upon your character, your emotions, your habits, and eventually upon the very circumstances that surround you. If you think weakness, you become weak. If you think strength, you become strong. If you think failure, obstacles will multiply before you. But if you think victory, doors will open that once seemed sealed. The mind accepts the images and patterns you hold with consistency, whether they uplift or degrade, whether they build or destroy, and it proceeds without question to bring them into reality. Understand this clearly. You cannot think poverty and expect prosperity. You cannot dwell upon fear and expect courage. You cannot harbor resentment and expect peace. Life will always yield to you a harvest that mirrors the seed you planted in thought. And the soil of the subconscious mind does not discriminate. It will grow weeds as readily as it grows fruit. That is why you must take conscious control of the thoughts you allow to dominate your mind. You are the sculptor, but you are also the marble. You are both the creator and the creation. Every mental picture you hold in vivid detail, is pressed into your subconscious, and there it takes root, drawing unto itself people, situations, and opportunities that correspond with its nature. This law does not sleep, nor does it fail. The only question is whether you will use it with awareness to build the life you desire, or allow it to run unconsciously, shaping a life by default. Emotional detachment is not indifference. It is mastery. It is the quiet strength of a man or woman who refuses to be enslaved by passing moods, who stands rooted in purpose while the storms of life rage around them. Most people are ruled by their emotions, shifting like sand with every gust of circumstance. A harsh word ignites anger. A setback breeds despair. A fleeting desire dictates their actions. But the one who practices detachment is unmoved. For they know that emotions are servants, not masters. They observe their feelings without surrendering to them, and in doing so, they gain a power that cannot be shaken. When you detach from fear, it no longer drives your decisions. When you detach from anger, it no longer poisons your judgment. When you detach from the endless cravings of desire, you are no longer a puppet of circumstance, but the author of your own script. True freedom is not found in indulging every impulse, but in choosing which thoughts and emotions deserve a place in your mind. Detachment is the proof of confidence, for only the strong can remain calm when others lose themselves to passion. This is not the cold withdrawal of the heart, but the warm mastery of the spirit. Detachment does not strip life of feeling. It refines feeling so that joy, peace, and vision can thrive without being clouded by turmoil. The detached individual channels their energy into creation, rather than reaction, into building rather than battling. Such a person is steady, clear, and resolute, and because they are not tossed about by inner chaos, they command outer circumstances with greater ease. Emotional detachment is the shield that guards your vision and the foundation upon which enduring strength is built. Faith in the invisible is the birthplace of all transformation. Every achievement that has ever graced this world was first believed in when there was no proof, no evidence, no sign that it could be done. The mind that waits for visible confirmation before it dares to believe will forever remain a servant to circumstance. But the mind that chooses to believe in possibilities unseen harnesses the very power that shapes reality. Faith is the bridge between thought and manifestation, the unseen force that calls forth substance from the realm of imagination. When you cultivate faith, you align yourself with the laws of the universe that respond not to doubt but to conviction. The farmer who plants a seed does not question whether the earth will yield. He trusts in the unseen process of growth. In the same way, you must plant thoughts of success, health, love, or prosperity, and nourish them with belief even before the first sprout appears. Without faith, the seed dies. With faith, it flourishes. Faith in the invisible demands that you see beyond appearances. A man may be surrounded by poverty, yet if he holds steadfastly to the vision of abundance, circumstances will eventually bend to meet that inner image. A woman may face sickness, yet if her mind clings to health with unwavering belief, she sets in motion forces that work toward healing. The invisible is not a dream. It is the cause of the visible. To ignore it is to live blind. To embrace it is to live as creator. The world belongs to those who trust what they cannot yet touch, who build castles in the unseen, and then walk with certainty as though they already stand within them. Faith makes the invisible tangible and the impossible inevitable. The mind does not remain empty. It must always be occupied by something. When a destructive thought enters, you cannot simply wish it away, for nature abhors a vacuum. You must replace it with a constructive thought that carries greater strength and purpose. This is the law of substitution. Every time fear rises, summon courage. Every time doubt whispers, affirm faith. Every time resentment stirs, declare gratitude. By substituting one thought for another, you exercise conscious dominion over the direction of your mind, and with repeated practice, you recondition your very nature. Destructive thoughts gain power only when they are allowed to linger. They grow roots when entertained, and soon they dominate action. But the instant you recognize their presence and deliberately replace them, you interrupt their influence. This act of substitution weakens the destructive pattern and strengthens the constructive one, until the latter becomes your natural response. The mind, like a garden, must be cultivated. If weeds appear, the wise gardener does not merely pluck them, he plants stronger seeds in their place, ensuring that flowers and fruit claim the soil instead. This principle is not about suppression, but transformation. To merely push away a thought is to give it more attention, but to replace it is to elevate the mind to a higher vibration, where the lower thought cannot dwell. The power lies in the immediacy of substitution. Do not argue with fear. Envision victory. Do not wrestle with anger. Summon understanding. Do not dwell on loss. Affirm abundance. Over time, this deliberate substitution reshapes the subconscious, filling it with patterns that serve rather than sabotage. And because the subconscious governs habit, action, and circumstance, the law of substitution becomes the key to recreating not only your thought life, but your destiny itself. Imagination is the sacred workshop where all things are first created before they appear in the physical world. Every invention, every movement, every empire, and every transformation of the human soul began in the privacy of someone's mind. The images you allow to dwell in your imagination are not idle fantasies, they are blueprints, and your subconscious treats them as instruction. The picture you hold most vividly, and most often, is the one your life will eventually resemble. To use imagination rightly is to engage in conscious creation. When you form a mental picture of the life you desire, when you give it detail, color, and emotion, you are constructing the mold into which reality will eventually be poured. The mind is incapable of distinguishing between an experience lived outwardly and one deeply imagined inwardly. Both impress themselves upon the subconscious with equal force. This is why athletes rehearse victories in their minds, why leaders envision success before they step into the arena, why every achievement is first rehearsed on the stage of thought. But imagination must be guarded with discipline. If you dwell on images of failure, poverty, or sickness, you are still creating, but you are creating what you do not want. The subconscious accepts those images and works tirelessly to bring them to life. The law does not judge, it simply executes. You must therefore take command of your imagination as the director of your destiny. See yourself as the person you intend to become. Walk through that life in detail within your mind until it feels real, until it breathes. The more alive the image, the more surely it sets in motion the unseen forces that shape your reality. Imagination, properly used, is not escape. It is the divine workshop of creation. A single thought, entertained once and then abandoned, carries little power. But a thought that is repeated, believed, and charged with emotion gathers momentum until it becomes a force that nothing can resist. This is the power of persistence in thought. Every great achievement was born not from fleeting wishes, but from ideas held with unwavering focus, revisited day after day, until the mind itself became saturated with them. What you persist in thinking, you impress upon your subconscious, and what the subconscious accepts, it works unceasingly to express in reality. Persistence transforms an idea from a passing notion into a living conviction. It is through repetition that faith is born, and through faith that creation becomes inevitable. The mind cannot help but yield to that which is impressed upon it continually. Just as water shapes stone through constant contact, your repeated thought carves grooves in the subconscious until it becomes automatic, until action flows from it without effort, and circumstances begin to bend around it. This is why many fail. They allow themselves to be diverted. They hold a thought for a day, perhaps a week, and when results do not appear instantly, they abandon it for another. They dig shallow wells in many places and wonder why they never reach water. But the one who persists, who returns to the same vision again and again with patience and determination, strikes the vein of power that lies beneath the surface. Persistence of thought is the quiet builder of destiny. It is the law that makes ideals tangible, that turns invisible images into visible fact. Hold to your vision, repeat it until it becomes a part of your very identity, until it dominates your actions, your habits, and finally your world. Identity is not fixed. It is the product of the thoughts you choose to nurture and embody. You are not merely a thinker passing through moments of reflection. You are becoming the very substance of your thought. Each idea you allow to dominate your mind imprints itself upon your character, reshaping how you see yourself and how the world responds to you. If you continually dwell on strength, confidence, and purpose, you will begin to walk, speak, and act as one who possesses those qualities. If you dwell on fear, weakness, or limitation, you will shrink into the likeness of those very conditions. The extraordinary truth is that identity is a conscious choice. You have the power to decide who you will become by deciding what thoughts you will repeatedly entertain. Every great leader, every creator, every master of destiny began by first adopting an inner image of themselves that surpassed their current reality. They lived in thought as the person they intended to become long before the world acknowledged it. Identity is first assumed within the mind, and only then does it crystallize into fact. Thought is the seed of self. Persisted in, it becomes belief. Belief becomes habit. Habit becomes character, and character shapes destiny. At every stage, the process begins with the choice of what thoughts to allow residence in the mind. This is why the careless thinker becomes entangled in mediocrity, while the deliberate thinker rises to mastery. You are not condemned to remain as you are. The moment you choose new thoughts and dwell upon them with consistency, you begin to recreate yourself. Every thought is an act of becoming, every mental picture a declaration of identity. Who you are is simply the sum of what you have chosen to think, again and again. Guard your mind as the greatest possession you will ever own, for it is the fountainhead of all creation in your life. Every triumph and every downfall begins first as a thought, and the destiny that awaits you is nothing more than the mirror of what you permit to dwell within. If you would rise above circumstance, then rise first in thought. If you would master the world outside, then master the world within. The secret has always been simple yet profound. You become what you think. Choose your thoughts as deliberately as a sculptor chooses his tools, for they will carve your future with precision. Stand firm, detached from fear and doubt, unwavering in faith, persistent in vision, and bold in imagination. Let your mind be the architect of greatness, and your life will become the masterpiece it was always meant to be.